Welcome, everybody, to the Mod Golf Podcast, YouTube edition. This episode is a follow-up conversation I just had with Reid Fowler, who is a DraftKings PGA fantasy sports and betting analyst. And I have to say, the conversation I just had, I did not need any caffeine because Reid's energy level makes me look like I am asleep half the time. So we're just going to have a conversation here to follow up the really engaging podcast episode we have, and I will include down below in the comments there for you to go listen to that, because everything he's talking about we're going to mention here briefly, just as far as what DraftKings is doing with fantasy golf, with daily golf betting, and the Masters that's coming up, and everything beyond that. So to start here, Reid, welcome back to the Mod Golf Podcast.
Yeah, thanks. I probably had enough caffeine for the both of us, Colin. So my energy level is about golf, and like the added caffeine probably is enough for 2 or 3 sessions on the Mod Golf podcast.
All right, careful what you ask for. I may keep this thing going longer than you hope. So yeah, to mix it up a little bit here, and also for our viewers and our listeners, I want to keep the content a little bit fresh. I don't want to have any redundancies. Like, you already talked about that on the other thing. So I'm going to mix it up a little bit here. You grew up in Hawaii. Grew up as a surfer. You also love golf. I'm going to put you on the spot here, Reid, to start. If you were in Hawaii right now, I know you're in Connecticut right now, so it would be an easy decision. But if you were in Hawaii and you had to choose, you can't choose both, you're going to go play 18 holes of golf, or you're going to go catch some waves, what would you do?
Oh, I'd go surfing. Like, I love golf. Trust me, it is something that I've been doing for a very long time. It brings me so much joy, not just playing it, but watching it, working, and like all the stuff that I do. But when you're in the water, it is something spiritual. It is the way what I always harken back, or people who like try to ask me to explain about surfing. I say, think of it this way: it is a naturally occurring instance, right, in nature, and it's happening without you being a part of it. So what you're doing is you're entering into a domain that you are not at the top of the food chain. You are in no control with other than the things that you have, right? You're bored, you're constitute like everything, like your emotions. And it's such a spiritual experience that when you catch your first wave, that's it, you're hooked. And when you catch the perfect wave, and you look at the sunset or the sunrise, and maybe you see a dolphin, maybe you see some wildlife out there, it is an experience that is second to none. So I would choose surfing, even though I love golf.
I was hoping you're going to be conflicted on that. It was going to be a painfully agonizing decision. We're like, no, surfing every time. Yeah. Every time. So I got to go off on a little tangent here. I know it's the Mod Golf Podcast, not the Mod Surf Podcast, but before we get into all the great things that DraftKings is doing with daily fantasy golf betting, let's talk about surfing. The fact you said that the perfect wave, you don't keep score when you're just out there, as compared to golf, as you can compare yourself on a hole, on a 9 holes, on a round, and get upset or get overjoyed by that, where it's a completely different type of experience. Let me talk about this, since you're involved with DraftKings as an analyst, both on the golf and the NFL side. When is, or do they have it already? And I don't know. Are you going to get involved with WSL? Is there going to be DraftKings involved with surfing competitions? Is that even
Colin,
a possible thing?
I hope so. And so I've always wanted to bring this up, just because for me, right, you talk about dream jobs, right? People have their dream jobs. And I remember telling my parents very early on, if I can find something in the golf and surfing industry, whatever that is, right? Like whatever synergy, whatever connection that is, that's what I want to do. And I'm not Kelly Slater. I'm not Adam Scott, who both, right, are either professional golfers who surf or surfers who golf. That would be ideal, because there were a few channels that when I was living in Hawaii, that I would keep on. Some people here in the States, right? ESPN, you just kind of keep it on, and it's on in the background. The surfing channel in Hawaii and the golf channel were the 2 most frequented by me on my TV, and they'd be on at all hours of the day or night. So if I could somehow find a way to bring WSL, it would be a dream come true.
All right. Well, hey, we talk about entrepreneurship here. Maybe you're
Yes.
the side hustle with all that extra time you do not
It's
have.
true.
Maybe that's what you need to do. You need to create the DraftKings offering for
Oh,
WSL. So you get to work on that after we finish up our quick call here. So I
perfect.
planted that seed, and if there's any value there, I want to be. Hopefully, I get on the cap table of your investors there for that. So, so hey, let's bring it all the way back to golf here.
Yeah.
So let's talk about DraftKings and what you do in the golf daily fantasy betting space.
Yeah, so I'm a bit, like you mentioned off the top, I'm a DFS and betting analyst. DFS standing for Daily Fantasy Sports. So we break down each golf tournament and the golfers who are in each golf tournament, who we think is going to play well and play well for our lineups that we create and build on the platform. And it's essentially the same as if you're watching, right, ESPN, if you're watching the Golf Channel and they're breaking down the golfers and who they think they're going to do well. That's exactly what we're doing, right? We're breaking it down, but maybe on a more granular level, saying why would Adam Scott be a golfer that we like at Augusta? Why is Tiger Woods potentially not someone that we like at Augusta? What's wrong with Jordan Spieth? What's wrong with Ricky Fowler? Can they find certain stuff? And so, trying to narrow down what I do, that's probably the best way is breaking down each golf tournament, breaking down the golfers that are playing in that golf tournament. And then for the NFL, same thing, right? The matchups for the running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, the whole team in general. How do you analyze and find any sort of information on how to best make the decision and then provide that analysis to the masses?
Right, right. Hey, so I was holding off on this question earlier because I did want to
Yeah.
ask this now. From all that data you have, I want to know what your college background, or are you a bit of a math dork, a bit of a numbers nerd, or what managed to take all that and then distill it down into something that's compelling, engaging, and relevant and easy to understand? So yeah, are you a math nerd?
No, so in college it was communications and business. I always had sort of an inclination to be in math classes and do well, but it was never a passion of mine. I didn't look at numbers and be like, oh, this is exactly. That's why I give statisticians, data analysis, forensics with data, big data. Like I give my hats off to you guys because there's so much information that you can glean from it, but it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of time. And for me, it was more about my expertise was always the interpersonal relationships, the ability to communicate. So I thought, having a business background with that would probably put me in a good spot, not knowing that DraftKings was a thing when I was in college. It wasn't a thing yet when I was in college. So I didn't even know this was a career path. This was not a career path that I ever had in mind. And then when DraftKings started, probably for the other podcast that we'll be able to do is how I got my start with DraftKings. It was a dream come true because it put all of that together. And I was already doing this with my friends. I was writing a blog for just my friends, my league that I had with my friends back home, where I'd be writing and then we'd be talking, right? And so I just put that into profession, and the rest is history.
There we go. There we go. So that goes to show all you entrepreneurs out there that are people that are interested in entrepreneurship or what am I going to do with my career and what am I going to do with my life here. Is like you never know where things are taking you. That the thing that you love now didn't even exist when you were definitely in high school and probably even in college. Same with what I did. My background is in architecture. So everything that I've done since then and the podcasting thing and everything else we did, most of the stuff didn't even exist. So, and that's exciting. Right? The fact that all of these things that haven't even been created yet are out there. So I did that on purpose because that was probably an obvious segue into my next thing I'm going to ask, and that is things in the future. Where do you see both in DraftKings and fan engagement and all these things intersecting in technology and how content is consumed? What do you see the next 3, 5, 10 years, if not what you could see, or maybe part of your fantasy? What you would like to see on your wish list there, Reid?
Well, the full integration, right, is if we're watching a golf tournament on the app itself, are we able to, especially with golf, whether it be golf betting or on the daily fantasy side, having a full integration where fans are engaging while they're consuming content, right? Because that's the name of the game is we get, the content is great, but how do we keep that engagement going from not just clicking on it and then leaving the site or leaving the platform. And so when you're looking at golf media or live sports, right, is how do we collect that, like that process that is so rich in terms of what we all do, right? Is live sports is the name of the game. How do we keep our fans engaged with our platform and with golf specifically in the next 5 to 10 years? If you guys haven't listened to the podcast or have listened to the podcast, you'll know that a big part of that is how do you broadcast golf. That technology is, I'm sure, on the forefront. Once that comes to fruition, once we see that in the marketplace, something like DraftKings and daily fantasy sports fits right in on how you engage fans from the very start of a golf tournament to the very end.
Well, love that response. So you talk about the real kind of secret sauce of DraftKings that really made them go kaboom over the last couple of years is distilling it down to daily fantasy, as you said, daily fantasy, not just over the course of a season. And there's that, but we like that quick hit in that quick feedback loop, if you will. Are you able, maybe you're doing this already, the fact I'm not on your platform yet, so maybe I think I'm being really clever here, and this is what you should be doing, and you're going to say, yeah, we're already doing that, dude. To kind of distill it right down to, let's say, at the Masters coming up here in the next couple of days, that Bryson DeChambeau is on one of the tees, to be able to bet in real time, like, and put that bet down within like 15 seconds. He's about to hit his tee shot, or he's approaching the tee. The bet is an over-under. Will he hit the fairway? Will he hit it over 350 yards? Yes, no. Is that something that you're able to do, or is there value for you as a company and a betting platform to start doing those like instantaneous micro bets? I don't know.
Yeah. So in-game betting, in-game betting is that's the future. Yeah. When you talk about betting, and that's what we have right now, to where you can, like, you can say, maybe not to the point of will Bryson, at this very second hit the fairway, but will Bryson get a par in this hole? Right? Will Bryson beat his playing partner on this hole? You can do that every single hole, and you saw that too with the match with Tiger and Phil, when it was Dustin Johnson and those guys, when it was Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. Those were things that you were able to do, is bet per hole. And so right now, in-game betting, the same way you do with football, that's the name of the game, right? Because that interaction is so quick and it's fun. It's just a lot of fun if you're able to do it. And then you can go on DraftKings Sportsbook if it's legal in your state and on the app, and see that it's a great time.
Nice. So to finish up here, why don't you tell our viewers here where they can connect with you, Reid, and also tell them how they can connect for the Masters tournament. Also, this you're going to be doing every single tournament after this. So if you're watching now and going, "Oh, the Masters already came and went," well, guess what? Good news. There's other golf tournaments, and everything you do does apply to that. So why don't you tell everybody how they can find you?
Yeah, Reid T. Fowler on Twitter. That's for us, the name of the game. Everything's on that platform. You can find all the content that I create on Twitter at Reid T. Fowler. And like you mentioned, Colin, it's not just for the Masters or for these big tournaments like the Super Bowl, the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup. It's every golf tournament we have these contests. So if it's not for the Masters and you want to, test your hand in like the RBC Heritage Open, the Houston Open, or smaller golf tournaments, by all means, we have that for every single person. That's on DraftKings.com. Easy to create an account. And again, follow me on Twitter, and you'll see all the stuff that I'm doing over there.
Good stuff. As I promised, down below in comments, I will have all those links to Reid and also to the podcast episode to make it nice and easy for you to find us and listen and watch to all those good things. And hey, if you enjoyed this conversation I just had with Reid, why don't you actually subscribe to our channel here? You know what? Show us some love too. Show Reid some love. We all need some love here, and we'll share the love with you. There we go. It's a big love fest here with DraftKings and the Mod Golf Podcast. So why don't we leave it at that? Reid Fowler, this is awesome. Thanks so much for your time. Good to see you, man.
All right. Thanks, Colin.
All right. Good stuff.